Hello everybody, it's Amiga Rob here. I haven't made a video for a week, so I thought I'd make one that's nothing to do with Amigas or anything else. Maybe slightly political, maybe not. And I also thought, given the topic of the conversation, I wouldn't make any concessions to beautifying myself, as I'm known to spend hours preening myself, and you know, so I'm just wearing this grey t-shirt, just cornflakes and that coming out my beard and hair all over the place because I'm not going to make any concessions to, facile attractiveness. Very good at doing that. So this video is, I don't really watch the news anymore because I think it's rubbish, most of it. So I sort of hear bits and bobs of news. I didn't hear about Kevin Spacey having all these allegations against him until a couple of weeks ago. I didn't know about Weinstein until a few weeks ago. I miss a lot of big stories um, because I just don't follow the news because I think there's no value in what it is. I think it's distraction. But I heard today that about something that made the news about a week ago, which was the Formula One getting rid of the grid girls, and I have an opinion on this. Now I have a problem in everyday life, which is that I am academically minded. I'm not in academia at the minute, but I think in a very academic way. Um, I'm empirical in the way I approach things, but I also keep an open mind. And um, as a result of that, I often say things that offend a lot of people. And when I say I offend a lot of people, almost all people, a very small minority of people, don't seem to be offended by me because they realise that I'm not trying to offend them. I'm trying to be impartial, and don't ask, I don't not ask things or talk about things because I think they might offend someone. I don't care. I do care, but I won't sacrifice that anyway. To get where I'm getting to, I suspect this is a subject that most people I know will be surprised by what my opinion is because they'll think I'll think the opposite. Um, and actually, I have quite a considered opinion because this is something that's bothered me for a while. These grid girls, and I was watching the last season. I'm watching Formula One less and less because the sport is in a mess. Oh, my glasses are really dirty. Um, I've been watching Formula One less and less. It's really a pointless sport at the minute. I'm never 100% happy about the sport anyway, because I think it is an exploitative sport. It's got a long history of many people dying it in terrible ways, and the safety records got considerably better. I mean, we track deaths caused on the track in Formula One. I mean, there's no. We've had racing drivers. We've had um, since the weekend we lost Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna. Sadly, died in '94 at Imola. We've only had one driver who's two drivers theoretically that have died directly from one driver that's died due to an injury during a race on the track, one driver that's had an accident in training and eventually died. Um, in testing, sorry, and then eventually died via Lotta. Uh, and Jules Bianchi, it was Jules Bianchi who died a couple of years ago after he was in a coma and brain dead for a long time. Um, so it's an exploitative sport. It always has been, and it always will be because people put their lives at risk. But they now get paid stupendous amounts of money, um, and it's always had that thing to it. Um, It's a sport that lives on advertising, and one of the things about advertising, and particularly when you're advertising to people that are making big expenditures, such as consulting agencies, um, people that are trading in financial products, Um, it's a feature. I mean, it used to be more of a feature, but it is a feature pretty much wherever you go. Whether you go to a trade event or you go to any promotional activity, you tend to find these girls who are often very striking. Although these days they're not quite as striking. I don't know whether this is because I got older, but they are like you see them. They I used to feel like they were picked because you see these girls from a distance and you're like, wow, look at the present. They're big people. Not I don't mean they're big people, but I mean um, they are people that have you know these women are put on short skirts, powerful thighs, muscular thighs. They're but not much. Like sort of feminine muscular, let's say. And you see them at think of an event I went to. You don't see them so much, but a video forum I sometimes go to in London. I think it's called BVE now. You used to see girls quite a bit there. They don't have them anymore, and they have sort of been getting phased out. I don't. You don't see them so much exhibitions. It's that kind of stuff anymore. Um, and with boxing, you get it with boxing. The girls that go around the ring between the rounds, and certain other sports. They used to have them in darts. I think they got shot of them now. You'd see these girls, pretty these girls that when you stand next to them, you're like, wow, this person has has some oomph about them. But anyway, in Formula One this season, I and actually the last couple of seasons I've been thinking of it. It's the first time I was watching it with someone, and I said, "Do you know what? I've had enough of this. I've had enough. Are we? How much longer are they going to have these girls just sort of standing around, um, being pretty, and all clapping hands when it didn't feel right to me. It just doesn't. It just bothers me because they seem so. It seems so facile, and it seems so. Um, it just doesn't seem right to just have these girls, and the reason they are there, the only quality they have that puts them there is that they have that oomph factor. And when you've got a row of girls lined up like in Formula One, I don't think you can find that many girls with that particular like oomph factor. So you get like a kind of it's a slightly diluted form. They're all sort of people that you look at them and think, yeah, she doesn't look like she'd be too much trouble. Or, you sort of it's almost as if they're picking people that you'd think, yeah, I mean, yeah, I can marry her, sort of thing. Yeah, she'd do if I had to pick, without meeting anyone. Yeah, any one of these would do. There's nothing overly offensive about them. They're all proportioned a certain way, and there's something I don't like about that. I do have this T-shirt on the right way, don't I? Who cares? Because that's just tokenistic, facile stuff. It is the right way. Um, yeah, it's there's a certain selection, and it bothers me, and it bothers me when the drivers walk past. And now I'm not, and this is where people might be a bit surprised because I'm not a feminist. Although I am a feminist, I don't believe feminism has done anything particularly useful for quite some time. I think in the Western world, I think it has achieved as much as it really can, um, or it's achieved as much as it's going to with the current thinking. And I think a lot of good feminists are dispossessed at the minute. They're sort of in a sea of, and you can see a lot of feminists that I think have even take it a little too far, a little bit strong for me with their opinions, and go a little bit into the fun. Well, there's people even more extreme than, well, I don't like the word extreme, but with different views to them, which are sort of more out less rationalised, that are now treating them like they are people like Jermaine Greer. Jermaine Greer at the minute um, is not welcome in many university campuses because she said a few things about transsexual and transgender people. Well, this is one of the people regarded to be at the forefront of the feminist debate, whether or not there's validity to a lot of our ideas. But I she's getting shut out of things now. She's being treated as if she's hate speech or whatever. Fine. How did I get onto that? I can't remember. Anyway, I'm broadly feminist because I believe that women should have equality of opportunity. I believe that women should have a right to do things that they wish to do. But I also think we shouldn't be treating motherhood and choosing to raise a family as being something that isn't a feminist ideal. I think it's about giving women and men, everybody, the opportunity to do what they want to do, have a certain freedom of choice while living a lifestyle that will hopefully support them and their family, with minimum state intervention. Is my personal belief. Um, so some people might be surprised that I'm saying I think there's this is not for me. I'm fed up with seeing these people. However, um, this ban, um, I think they've not quite thought it through. I don't think you can take it away. I think probably a phasing out or a slight adjustment might have done. And for me personally, because the other thing that bothers me about this is that you go to each country and it's almost like they're saying, here is the pick of our women. Here is the best we have to offer is. This is the standard, the average standard. Look, we can produce a row of women. It's not just one that we've picked out that is absolutely stunning. I mean, you can take three sisters, one of them can be stunning, and you think, wow, she's stunning. And you look at the other two and you think, not quite as stunning. Nice people, but same. But with what they're doing is saying, look, here's 20 women or 50 women, and they're all. This is the caliber of our country in terms of women. That's the way it strikes me, and some might be shocked that I'd say that because I think, well, that's a very feminist argument, but that's how it feels when you go from country to country, and they're trotting out, you know, 50, 60, 100 women. I mean, there's probably 200 or 300 women on the entire site that they're trotting out. And I'm very uncomfortable with that. Um, I would prefer it if they sort of dialed it down a bit. But ideally, I think if they just had people rather than all women. And I know some people will say, well, that's a bit being a bit politically correct, which I'm not really a very politically correct person, but I just think there is an obvious, clear distinction there. Race after race, you're seeing these lines of people, and it wouldn't have hurt to say, okay, maybe this season we're gonna. It doesn't even have to be 50-50. Just say, look, we're gonna have a few blokes in there, just a few blokes, you know. Um, Personally, I would be I wouldn't have any problem if it was just ordinary people of all different ages. Um, all different representatives. To me, that would work. I mean, the people that are on, if they just took people that at the point the race is complete, who are available from the staff, and just had them line up in the corridor and clap hands. It's for a Formula One event. Some of these places, it's the only event they do all year, and there's sometimes people that are working there all year to make sure this track works. And I think that would be an appropriate thing to do. Um, on the grid itself, again, you could. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be all women. It can be blokes, and it can be all different people. I don't see why it has to be people that have that factor in the present day. I'm just not comfortable with it, and I don't think it's a political correctness thing. I think it's about, in a business at the minute which depends on advertising, and which isn't it is trying. I think they're going to try and move themselves away from subscription models to watch it, because I think that's hurting the industry. Um, I think if they, instead of doing the glamour thing, which, to be frank, glamour was an 80s, 70s, and 80s thing, and it started to disappear in the 90s in terms of advertising stuff. And in the 2000s, having glamour, having women who are there because they're of certain proportions and certain appearance, that's yesterday's game. Personally, I think. And I'm not going to criticise anyone that's been in that game who's made decent money out of it, because you can make very good money out of it. Um, I think, and many of those people have gone on to be really talented and do really decent things. But I just think when you go all around the world, and in the present day, it would be nice just to have average people holding them sticks, saying, I'm proud to be, on the grid holding this. Maybe even if you said, people who've done things in their local community or whatever. I mean, some people won't believe I'm saying this, but people that have done decent things, and they say, we'll reward you. You'll be able to represent us and be on the grid. Get 30 people. How many cars was there? 24 cars at the minute. I don't know. Hold. There you go. Hold the doodah. Stand there. Everyone sees you when they go past. Maybe some of the people interview you for international TV. What's your name? What do you do? That to me would be the way to do it on the grid. And then at the end of the race, just have ordinary people lining. That's more important, rather than people that have been. You can still pay them, but people that are professional faces and professional bodies, and they're not quite like they used to be. A lot of these people, they're not quite as stunning. And I'm not trying to be nasty about it. There's a lot of people that are in that game now that don't have the impact they used to have. So they've widened. They have cast the net out further, but um, it isn't the archetypal blonde or brunette with the long hair and the and the and all the rest of it. There are there's a slight bit more tolerance. Sometimes they can be a bit well, I won't go into, they can be a bit and that kind of stuff. But there is certainly a bit more tolerance. But throughout Formula One, it isn't happening. It is a bit to see these clapping seals that. So I'm sure some of them are very intelligent, but I don't like it. I'm not comfortable with just having people there. So I think it's going to look a bit strange. I mean, hopefully, the way they're going to do it is going to be like that. I don't know if there's been any, what the alternative is, because somebody's got to hold them sticks. So, and I know it's unfortunate that some girls might lose out a job on a good payday. Um, I mean, a lot of girls around the world would probably lose a significant amount of money on a good payday, and something that's great for their portfolio and picks them up other jobs. But it might just be that the time's running out on that job in that capacity. It's happening across the industry. I feel, I don't tend to go to exhibitions. I don't go to a huge number of exhibitions these days, but I don't tend to see those girls anymore. Um, and it's a decision at the end of the day by the company. As much as people say, well, it gives an opportunity to these girls, it's actually not an inclusive opportunity. It is an exclusive opportunity. You have to fit a very narrow set of requirements. I wouldn't get that job up until this point. Maybe now I can hold a stick and they'll come up to me and they'll go, oh, what do you do? What's your name? And I say, well, it's Amiga Rob. And what do you do? Well, I'm holding a stick. This is the work I'm doing at the minute. And they ask me questions and I tell them where I come from, and then the fan mail comes in, obviously, or similar. Anyway, that's my opinion. I don't know, like I say, it might shock a few people that know me, that's the way I feel, but it is the way I feel. I say this as someone who's occasionally used models in the past for things that I've always liked to generally use ordinary people and ordinary looking actors. Oh, no, not so that. I've not been exclusive. I like people that look real, I'm not going to exclude someone because they've got the whoomph. And I know a few people have got the whoomph, with the hubba hubba and all that. But anyway, if you've got this far, thanks for watching. Don't forget, there's a like button down there, or there somewhere around there. There's also dislikes, you can press that if you want to. And I've got a subscribe button. Something a bit different today, a little bit of a talk about stuff and all that kind of thing. I'm going now, bye!